Welcome back to Red Devils TV, and he's so nice. He's only done it twice. Darren Webb is here again, and Webby, I just want to say thank you so much for coming back onto the channel. The last show did really well, and I just appreciate everyone who will be watching this evening. Make sure you leave a like on the stream, comment all your comments in the live chat, and whatever question for myself or Webby, just get them in the comments down below. But obviously, Webby, thank you again for joining.
No problem. Yeah, not bad, pal. Not bad. Obviously, disappointed after Saturday game. Obviously, we've got a big game tomorrow night, which we must win. We've defeated Munich. We've got to get the home win. I'm looking forward to it. Just hope that the players turn up. Because Galatasaray are a decent team. It's going to be no walkover. They'll come here. They'll see how we've been playing recently, and they'll come here fancying the chances. So we've got to be up for it. We missed the Champions League. There's nothing better watching United in Champions League under the lights with the kids waving the big thing in the middle. Looking forward to it, but we've got to turn up, mate, because if we don't, it's going to be more pressure onto the manager, and it's an hard watch at the moment, but we'll stick behind him, we always will, but it's not good at the moment.
Yeah, and that brings us on to the perfect first question for yourself, Webby, this evening. So obviously you spoke about if Manchester United do struggle against Galatasaray or we do lose, Erik ten Hag will be on a lot more pressure than what he already is. So my first question for you, Webby, is that after Erik ten Hag's impressive season last season, as his debut season for Manchester United, do you think he's the right man for the job and taking us forward?
Yeah, I do. He come in, he dealt with some major problems, with the Ronaldo problem, with the Maguire, who, he was a captain and he has to be dropped out of the team because he wasn't playing well. I just think, looking at it, did we overachieve last year? If someone had said to me after the Brentford game when I was in Norway with Tony, we'd get Champions League, we'd win a cup and get another cup final, I would have laughed. Yeah. But, obviously, we've had some bad luck. You look at the Garnacho goal at Arsenal, that goes in, we're talking a different story, but I just think on a Saturday against Palace, I just think we struggle to break a team down, which is it's going to be like a lot of games. If teams go up against United, whether it's at Old Trafford or wherever it is, we just need to break teams down. We've got to create chances. I'm a bit concerned of a few of the players who don't seem to be at the races, But I think Erik's a man. He's dealt with a lot of problems, which he didn't really want to deal with. The Sancho, the Anthony thing, obviously the Mason Green, which I've said on other channels, on my channel, that the club left it far too long before they made the decision. The club's a mess, and is he the right man? I surely hope so, because what we don't want to do is go down the lines of what City used to do years ago, sack a manager every half a season. You look at Chelsea doing the same. We've got to be strong. We've got to back the manager. I think that he honestly thought that the club would be taken over before the season started, and that would have probably helped by getting better players in, which we did. Just back the manager, is it the right man? Some people say yes, some people say no, but whoever's the manager there, they'll back him until the day to leave.
Yeah, definitely, and I completely agree, because again, we had so many people making pictures of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer like Pinocchio, because when the people of Glazers controlling him and stuff, and it's just every manager, because if any manager speaks out about the Glazers, they're gone pretty much. I mean, you looked at Ralph Rangnick; he was apparently promised the director of football job, and what happened? He got sacked and didn't become the interim manager. But I don't believe that Ralph Rangnick was ever going to have another role after him being the interim manager. I thought it was always a stopgap just to keep the fans happy. And that was pretty much it with that. But moving on. And how does Erik ten Hag fix this current situation? Because as we know, it's not been a great start to the season. We've currently won 3 and lost 4 in our start to the Premier League. So how does Erik ten Hag switch this around, Webber?
Well, I come on your show the other week, and I've spoke to on our channel. I like to see players who are hungry to play. Now, look at Hannibal at Burnley, look at Hannibal against Palace at home. That's what we need. But I knew before the team was announced on Saturday at just before 2 o'clock that Rashford had come back, and then Bruno. I felt sorry for Hannibal. And then I'm looking at Saturday's game, and we score one on Saturday, we probably go on and win it. And then he brought Van der Beek on me, and I walked out. And that's nothing against him. He's some people don't fit at clubs. When Henrik come in and Van der Beek, I thought, well, he's played from the Ajax. He'll get a chance. He'll prove what player he was. But sometimes it doesn't work out at a club when you think it's going to do. You look at Sanchez when he come, you thought, great signing. It just never worked out. And I just think some of the substitutions are strange. At strange times. You know, and the left back things, it's, you know, for the club to have 3 left backs out, you know, maybe you get 1, maybe 2, but you've always got that one there. And Amrabat playing at left back, you know, I can't wait for him to play in the middle at Park when he
Yeah,
can, when he'll look better. And don't get me wrong, he's done okay at full back. You know what I mean? We've got no one else to play there. Well, we've got Dallo, but then we've got no right back. It's just hard at the moment with injuries, but that's part and parcel of football. You know, you got to deal with injuries. You know, but I'm just concerned about Marcus Rashford, his body language, his performances this season after last season. Always a great season, scoring wide. He got his big contract, and he just doesn't seem to be interested in it. I might have said after the Brighton game when he scored the second goal, I looked at his body language. It was like someone had took a ball off him in the park as a young kid and popped it, and he couldn't play anymore. You know, we know
yeah,
what Marcus can do. He just needs to get onto his game. You know, and it's hard at the moment, but you've got to stick behind him, stick behind the manager. That's one thing United fans won't do, is really ever go at the manager. You know what I mean? We'll go at the owners all day long for every minute we can. But we back the manager, and we'll back him and get them on a night. But things have got to change. And for me, I'd play Hannibal tomorrow night. I'd play him. I thought, I knew for the fact that Palestri was going to come off before the board went up on Saturday, and I thought he did okay.
yeah.
Mason Mount, I thought he did okay. You know, and he's taking him off. And it's just hard, but back the manager, and hopefully we'll put in performance tomorrow night, because, like you're saying, if we don't, it's going to be another long struggle for us tomorrow night.
Yeah, I completely agree. And obviously, you mentioned a few things there where you talked about the substitutions with Eric Ten Hag and obviously Marcus Rashford. Now, with the substitutions, I do find it quite weird with Eric Ten Hag, and he always seems to make a substitution on the 60th minute. It doesn't matter if a player's playing good or bad, he'll always have like his organised substitutions. And I always find it quite weird how he always takes someone off on the 60th minute. Now, I don't know if you've noticed that, but he always seems to bring someone on in the 60th minute. And I just find it very confusing. Like, he took off like Palestra in around the 60th, 70th minute. And I was like, Palestra's doing all right. I don't understand why he took him off. But obviously you said that you walked out when he brought on Donny van der Beek, which I completely agree with you. And I was
And that's
tempted
that's nothing. That's nothing about Donny. That's nothing.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
I've met him. He's a great kid. Just not worked out. And what must Hannibal and Garnacho think? Because the first half against Palace was probably the best football we played this year. I
yeah,
really enjoyed that Palace game. And then I'm thinking, what must they think? You know. And then when he brought that, and I just said to me, Palace said, I've got to go here, mate, before this, I start screaming and all that, and which I don't want at all. I've just walked out, which hurts me. You know what I mean? I stayed in the ground with when City was beating us 6-1. That
yeah,
broke me heart, and I'll stay till death. But that on Saturday, it was just, we looked, I wouldn't say lackluster, but we looked tired. We didn't have any ideas, you know. And I'm a big fan of Martial, and I thought at Bayern Munich he played well. I thought Palace he played well, and I thought he'd start with him Saturday, but he never. That's the manager's choice. But I don't know. I just think there's just something not right there, and hopefully it turns quick, because another couple of defeats and will the owners panic? You know, they probably will do, you know, which we
yeah,
don't want, like you just said a minute ago. I don't want us going down the same lines of what City were doing years ago in Chelsea, getting rid of the manager, because these owners panic. These
yeah.
owners want top 4. The Glazers got it last year, got the money, got the new sponsorship deal in, and they're happy. That's why they propped up what I sell at the moment. But let's just hope that the team we pick tomorrow are up for the fight, because they've got to be up for it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Simon Davis, a regular commenter on this channel, has asked you a question here, Webby, saying, touching on what Webby said, I just feel like Eric Ten Hag is leaving certain players out. That shows true passion and fight. I don't get it. Get the youth on. What do you think about that, Webby? Do you think that the youth do deserve a chance? Because obviously Manchester United's history is built on bringing the youth through. You look at the class of 99. You look, obviously, the class of, well, all the classes, really. Manchester United are known for projecting youth throughout our history. So what do you think? Do you think the youth team players at the moment have enough quality to be competing with the likes of Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes, or do you think that they're still a bit lack for quality?
No, well, if you don't throw them in, you're not going to see how good they are. It's no point playing in an empty stadium. Some of these reserve players, they're too good for that now. So I was just disappointed with Hannibal not starting, because I really thought, I've been really impressed with him at Burnley. I was at Burnley. Obviously, I was there against Palace in the EFL Cup. And I always remember him when he come on at Anfield with 7-0 down, he just starts booting him. You know, he wanted to be in there, he just started booting him, you know. And I want to see that passion. I want to see someone who wants to fight for this shirt. I want to see someone running through brick walls, because these kids will do it. These kids will do it. And some of these players there, I won't say they're not bothered, but they're not showing the true ability. So we've got to, if they're good enough, they're old enough, they're good enough. You play them, you know, Manu and all that, and the kid the left back who we sent to Spain, he should be there now. My mate, who's a Preston season ticket holder, said he was absolutely superb last season, you know, and he wanted him back, and then United said no, and then we send him on loan. So I just don't get it. So if they're old enough, they're good enough, they play in my eyes. You know what I mean? And I'd like Garnacho to start tomorrow. I'd like Hannibal to start tomorrow, but I don't think they will do. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, because I was speaking to, because obviously I went to the game against Crystal Palace. So obviously I met you before the game, and obviously asked your thoughts about it and stuff. And when I was in the queue, waiting to go into the stadium, and I was speaking to this guy who's just a United fan, and the report came out, and Erik ten Hag was asked about why Hannibal wasn't starting in the game, and he turned around and said, "When you're used to not starting games all the time, and you play 3 games in a row, it is mentally draining. And when a trait like energy is your main trait in a player like Hannibal, he does deserve a rest." And as soon as I saw that, I was like, Hannibal's not going to play today. And then this guy was like, no, he'll bring him on with like 30 minutes to go. I was like, I promise you, Hannibal will not play, because Erik ten Hag has come out and said that he needs a rest, and he's going to literally just leave him on the bench, and that's it. And I was fuming about it, and I was right. It came out. He didn't ever get a minute on the pitch, and when a player like Hannibal, who is giving us so much energy, how does he get better? What happens? He plays every 3 games, has a break, and then plays another 3 games. I don't think that's going to make his development any better, in my opinion. I think whether you give him brief cameos, whether it's for 10, 30 minutes, or you give him a full 90 minutes. Hannibal is a player who's been here for so many years now. He's been a part of our youth setup for at least 3 years now. And I believe he's decent. He had a very decent loan spell in Birmingham last season. And I think with a player like Hannibal, I think he's definitely one of them like workhorses that you need in your team.
It's it proved in the first 2 games. I was getting overrun in the middle of the park. You look at that Wolves game, you know, you look at Forest as well, how he was running through us, and he gives us that energy. Some of what was lacking, you know, Casemiro was getting 2 men running at him all the time, and it affected his game, because I've said all along that I'm a big fan of Eriksen, and what he's come back and he's done, I'll hold my hands up, have been superb. But you can't play Casemiro and Eriksen together. They've just not got the legs in there. You know what I mean? They're both great players, but they've not got the legs. So you want someone like Hannibal, someone young, someone who wants to run around, who can run around. You know, play Hannibal the next 10 games. He's not going to be tired. What did Bruno play? Did he play something like 100 games on the bounce before we give him a rest?
Yeah.
You know, it shocked me that he wasn't in the team on Tuesday night against Palace. You know, with last year's EFL lines up, I just think the manager's got to trust more in the youth. You know, I've said it all along that. I was surprised at some of the teams you picked last year for the EFL Cup. You know, they were going virtually as strong as possible. Yeah. And I'm thinking, do you know, and in the FA Cup, I thought this is going to come to affect us. You know, and then we lost Eriksen with that tackle from Carroll in the FA Cup against Reading. You know, we lost him. He was probably one of our better players at that time.
Yeah.
So for me, I'd play Hannibal. You know, obviously he's not going to play great and well every game. We'd like him to, but he's a young kid learning his trade. He's gone out on loan at Birmingham, done well. I just think he gives us that energy around the park and that spark in the crowd, you know. And at Burnley, I thought he was superb. But I'll be very, very surprised. I can bet you the pound of penny now that Anthony comes back in and plays tomorrow. It's a knocking bet he'll play. Garnacho won't play, and I thought he did more in 5 minutes than Rashford did for the full game, running at players. He excites you. He wants to run at players. Yeah. And just let's wait and see. Let's pick the best team, but we've got to, like saying again, and I don't like to repeat myself, we've got to put performance in tomorrow night, because like saying these are no mugs, you know what I mean? They're a good team. Yeah. And they'll fancy the chances against us.
Yeah, because Galatasaray, because I've done a bit of research on them, and Galatasaray a few years ago, they were in the mud and they were completely all over the place. And then what's happened is that they've tapped into the free transfer market, and they've brought in players like Icardi on loan, and now they've signed him for a couple million. They've just signed Wilfried Zaha, and they're signing more players that are well known in Europe, and they're now establishing themselves, and they want to be a decent team. Obviously, you could say the Turkish league, whatever you think about it, it's probably just between Galatasaray and Fenerbahce. They're probably the only teams in that league that really stand out. But what they want is to actually compete in Europe, and they're signing players like Icardi, like Wilfried Zaha. I mean, you look at Fenerbahce, they signed Fred. So all these teams are now trying to get, you could say, these rejects from Europe, but they're still good players. And we talked about Hannibal for his energy. I think that's why Casemiro struggled so much, because it would normally be Fred, Casemiro, and Bruno Fernandes. Fred would be Casemiro's energy. And I think that's what Casemiro has missed. Someone that will do majority of the running around for him. Now, whatever you thought about Fred, I thought he was a decent player, very inconsistent at times, but on his day, he was absolutely brilliant. But what actually went wrong against Palace, do you think, Webber?
I just thought we were too slow in transition. I just thought some of the passing. I just thought, honestly thought, because we beat them on the Tuesday night, we just had to turn up.
Yeah.
You know, some of the players, well, we beat them on Tuesday, we'll do this. But, you know, with Roy Hodgson, they get a goal up, they make it hard for you. You know, he's not managed the top clubs around the world, and was England manager because he's a mug. You know what I mean? He knows what to do. And I just thought we lacked ideas. We lacked that spark in the final third. You know, and like I said, if we would have scored one, we had a few chances, no really great chances, half chances, you can say. But it just went wrong. And it's one of those days when you knew you're not going to score. You know, in the second half, the one at the back post where the defender, like, it touches him and it goes wide. Other days they go in. But you've got to earn your luck. You know what I mean? You've got to play. You've got to make Old Trafford into a fortress again, which it was last year after the Brighton game. You know, teams were coming. I'm not saying they were scared, but years ago in the Ferguson, teams were coming. They would get doing 3-0 down before the kickoff. They were scared, and you've got to make that happen again. You know, you've got to fight for that badge. You've got no divine right to win any match. But coming to Old Trafford, it's their biggest game of the season. I don't care what anybody says. Go to City, go to Liverpool. You know, some players dream about playing at Old Trafford, and they're going to put in a performance. I know, and if we're not up for it, we're lacklustre. There's 2 or 3 or 4 players not playing to the ability which we know they can play. We're going to struggle against not just Crystal Palace. We'll struggle against Crew Alexandra, and we need that. You know, we look at that. You know, we're talking about all year about signing the centre forward, that clinical man who, like a Van Nistelrooy, you know, Christ is another Van Nistelrooy in this earth. Let's get him. You know, he was clinical. He didn't do anything around the box. He was just clinical in that 6-yard box. And that's what we got to him. We've got to put these half chances in, you know, because they'll win the games. I remember Ian Rush years ago. He never done anything. He scored 2 goals in the last 5 minutes and Liverpool will win the game.
Yeah.
You know, so we've got to be more clinical in front of goal. You know, and I just think that we just missed that little creative just in that 10. Because Bruno's not doing it, you know what I mean? I didn't want Bruno to be captain. We've seen what he did last year, throwing his hands up in the air, getting booked, doing silly things. You know, we know he's a good player, but he's got to start coming to the party. You know, you're playing in that number 10 position for United. Come to the party. I'm not saying play well every week. You know, he scored a great goal at Burnley, but what else did he do? He give the ball away quite a lot of times again. And in European football, whether you play Galatasaray or whoever, you've got to keep the ball. If you don't keep the ball, you're in major trouble.
And that's the thing, obviously, it's well known that, especially in the first 20 minutes of games at the moment, Manchester United do intend to keep the ball a lot. We have about 80% in possession, and we do try and build up the field, but we don't know what to do with the possession. We don't know how to link up. We don't know how to create chances from it. We just pass it side to side and just build up, and while we push the team back, like there's been many times, I mean, it even happened on Tuesday with the B team, you could say, that you had Harry Maguire and Raphael Varane, and for a solid 10 minutes, Crystal Palace there was no player in Manchester United's half apart from Onana. Every other player was over the halfway line, and that's what Manchester United want to do. We want to push teams and make them drop back. We want them to play a low block, but then when we make them play a low block and players are just constantly defending and blocking, Manchester United don't know what to do about it, and it's completely frustrating because we've done so well to push them back, but then if they break us on the counter attack, if a player mispasses it and it gets intercepted, that it's completely ruined, and it just feels like that no players are actually making runs as well. Like you look at Marcus Rashford, he just stands like literally on the touchline, gets the ball, and then runs like diagonally towards the box. Then 2 players have surrounded him. He does a few step overs and then always cuts in his left or right, and then gets beaten and gets intercepted. And that's just Marcus Rashford being very simple at the moment. But anyway, it's
Marcus needs a goal. Any centre forward breed confidence when he's scoring goals, you know. So Marcus gets the goals and hopefully he'll go on a run. But at the moment, it doesn't look like he couldn't buy a goal. You know, he's for me taking the wrong options. You know, he's running down blind alleys. He's not making the right pass. You know, he's giving the ball away too much. But we know what he can do. He's got that pace. You've got pace against any defender. They're frightened to death. You know, and we know what Marcus did. We proved that last year. We just hope that he gets his head right. For me, there's something not right with him there, and he goes on the scoring run that starts him on a night. You know, but it's not just Marcus. Every player someone has got to be behind it because we've fought for this for years. We don't be playing Thursday night football. Manchester United, for me, Manchester United out the Champions League is like Tom without Jenny. You know what I mean? We've got to be in it. We've got no divine right to win it, but the record speaks for itself. Without the Barcelona team a few years back, we'd be on five Champions Leagues all day long now. You know.
Yeah.
So we've got to be up for it tomorrow night, and I'm pleased that the manager picks the right team and the 11 are up for it. Please.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I can't add anything onto that. So obviously, speaking about Erik ten Hag and choosing the right team, what needs to change against Galatasaray, and what would your starting 11 be?
Oof. I've heard that the new goalkeeper's playing tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I don't know how true it is. He's normally quite good. Apparently, he's okay. Deserves a game. But wouldn't you have played him against Palace in the League Cup?
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Well, obviously Delo will play it right back because we've got no one else. Centre halves will be Varane and Lindelof with Amrabat at left back. Midfield, he'll go Casemiro. I think Anthony will come in. Marcus on the left. I can see Eriksen being in there and Bruno. That's my thing. I'd like Hannibal to be in there, but I think he'll go Eriksen or maybe Mount. And then up front it'll be, I'd go Martial.
Yeah.
I'd go Martial, but he probably won't. Well, let's see. But like saying, they've got to be up for it, mate, because Galatasaray only drew the first group game, but they come to Old Trafford full of confidence because we're playing poorly.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's like
let's wait and see, pal. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, because even though we were playing poorly against Bayern Munich, we still scored 3 past them. And I mean, you could even say, like, right now, any team will be licking their lips because they're playing Manchester United. They'll be looking at our form. They'll be like, we're not playing well at the moment. This is our chance to go to Old Trafford, which is a historic stadium, and do some damage and cause Manchester United even more pain what they've already gone through this season. Now, it's interesting that you mentioned Lindelof, because I had a conversation with my granddad, and obviously a massive Manchester United fan. Shout out to my granddad. But he was turning around and said to me that he doesn't think Lindelof is up to scratch at the moment. He looks very shaky. It doesn't look up to scratch. And my granddad said that he'd rather start Harry Maguire or Evans with Varane on Tuesday. What do you think about that?
I'm a big fan of Lindelof. Well, I thought he did well last year when Martinez got injured. He come in at the deep end without any football and played well. I thought Maguire did okay against Palace. I thought he did well. I'm a big fan of Johnny Evans. You know, people laughed at him when he come back. I said he's absolute quality. You know,
what colour is Johnny Evans?
Say again.
What colour is Johnny Evans?
Go on, mate.
Johnny Evans is a red, is a red. Johnny Evans is a red. He ain't Scousers.
And I thought he did well at Burnley. You know, I thought he did very well. But obviously, I don't know. It's hard, you know. I'm just a bit disappointed that Martinez has had this operation again. He's come back and he's not been right, you know. But he's not looked right for me since pre-season, you know. Going into some of those challenges, he looks off the pace. You know, I know it's pre-season and people say, well, that's what pre-season's for, getting back to pace. But he's not looked right in the games he's played. He's not looked like the Martinez we bought and played last year. Big decision for the manager. Does he bring Maguire in? I don't think he'll play Johnny. I think if someone's going next to Varane, it's either going to be Lindelof or Maguire. I'd love it to be Johnny Evans. You never know, he might play Johnny. But it's a game we've got to win, and I hate saying, you know, we're going in there. You look at the Bayern Munich game, 4-3, and if you're not watching the match, people think, close match. There's another gear to go up to. We scored, they scored again. You know, it was disappointing that, you know, I know the goalkeeper made the mistake, and 9 times out of 10, when the goalie makes a mistake, normally ends up with a goal. But we got away with it really because Galatasaray had drew. I think they come back from, was it 2-0 down, Galatasaray? Or was it 2-0? I know they were winning, or someone was winning. They got the draw against Copenhagen.
I think
yeah. So we've got to be up for it. I won't be disappointed if Maguire plays. I won't start screaming from the old tops or Lindelof. But from the word go tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, they've got to be mentally ready, physically ready, and realise that it's a must-win game, because if we don't be going into the third game and with no points. You know what I mean? So it's a massive game tomorrow.
Yeah, I completely agree, and hopefully that the season does kind of kick off. And we've said this after every single win. We said it after the Burnley game. Hopefully, we can kick off our season now.
It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Exactly,
that's what it's been like. You know what I mean? It's disappointing.
It's been like every time it seems like we've got to the surface and then we've just been dragged down by the shark or something. Like Jaws is there, been playing with us in the ocean. We're about to swim and get away, but then he just bites us again and just drags us back down to the ocean. That's literally the way it feels at the moment. It's painful to be a United fan because, like you said before earlier in the show, that Eric Ten Hag, we completely overachieved last season, and so many fans and people in the media, talk sport, everyone's criticising Ten Hag at the moment, and I think it's very disrespectful, the fact that whether you think we overachieved or not last season, you've still got to win them games, you've still got to make them decisions, and we had a lot of injuries last season as well. I mean, it is a shame to see about Martinez. I mean, to find out that he's been taking painkillers to get rid of the pain for all season, and now it's just made his foot even worse. It's just not worth it. And I don't know what the doctors have been saying behind the scenes, like saying that Martinez is good to go, but he's been there taking painkillers before each game and before each half. It's ridiculous, and it just shows how badly we run as a football club. Now, just before we end the show, what is your score prediction for Galatasaray?
I will go 2-1 United with goals from Marcus Rashford and Bruno.
Okay, and just to test you even more, just while we've got you, what are your predictions for Brentford as well this weekend, or is that too early to say?
No, well, let's see. Obviously, hopefully we don't pick any more injuries. You know, something we can't afford, especially in the defence. Brentford, you know what you get with Brentford. You know, I'm glad Ivan Toney's not playing. He's a right handful. But Brentford are Brentford. You know, they play to their strengths. You know, obviously we got hammered 4-0 down there last year. I think we beat them. Was it 1-0 at Old Trafford last season in the rain? I can't remember.
So,
I know Marcus scored. But we've got to win that game as well, because if we don't, there's more pressure put on the manager. I'll go for Brentford. I'll go 2-0 against Brentford.
Okay, I like that a lot. For me, everyone quickly get your comments in about what your score predictions are. But for me, I'm going to go for 3-1 United tomorrow. And I'm going to say 1-0 against Brentford at weekend. So that's what I'm going for. And everyone let me know in the comments down below on what yours are. But anyway, Webby, thank you so much for tuning in.
No problem, pal. Come and see us tomorrow if you can. And we'll get back together soon, mate.
I'm not at the game tomorrow, but I am at Copenhagen the week after. So I'll probably bump into you there if you're at that one.
Yeah, I'll be there, mate. Every game.
All righty, pal. Well, nice to have you back as always. And obviously, you're more
no problem, pal.
Everyone, if you haven't already, go and check out Webby and O'Neill. The link is in the description. A massive YouTube channel. I'm a massive admirer of them. They do great content, so go and check them out. Leave them a subscription if you are new. Anyway, thank you everyone that's tuned in. Massive thank you to Webby for tuning in. And everyone, have a good evening. Take care, guys.
Cheers, folks.